just rack off. That's what furious are going to be saying Meghan Markle after this astonishing leak has just proved that the couple have been lying about the security costs on next week's royal.
44,785. Yeah, that number is climbing right now. And it's not slowing down anytime soon. It's all tied to hard, word for word, no filter at all.
Australian viewers of the Markle show don't want to see Harry and Meghan. The reason why it went down well in 2018 is because Australian public didn't know Meghan very well. Well, they know her now. And what do they know her to? A digging grifter.
The message is loud and clear. We don't want you here. And just today alone, 758 more names jumped on it. People are moving, no second thoughts, no hesitation, just straight action. All eyes are on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, especially attention from every direction. The title of that's either, not even a little bit. It says exactly what it means. No taxpayer funding, no official support for Harry and Meghan's, no soft tone, no spin, just straight bold about it.
Why on earth should these two be funded in the first place? They are king royals.
Don't want them there. They're not interested. And in Australia, to say, look, come free. Duke and his private citizens. This is not a royal tour. And we do not want a single penny of Australian taxpayers' money spent on the police.
This whole situation actually kicked with a Sydney beyond us back on November 14th, 2025. At first, quiet. Barely anyone noticed. Sitting at around 200 signatures like it might fade out. But then mid-March hit, and everything flipped fast. 10,000, then 30,000. And now it's blown past 40,000, stacking up like people couldn't sign fast enough.
On it hits hard. Word for we don't want you here.
Beyond Australia didn't stay quiet, not even close. They went straight to the top, reaching out to Mins and Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen with one question heavy. Will even a single Dollob's trip? No confusion, or talk, just straight right. Things are in the air. No clear answers yet. Responses from all three are still pending. But here's where it's getting loud in a whole different. Government agencies are already backing off, creating space like they don't want any part of this. And Cabinet made it clear. No involvement. Home Affairs right behind with the same message.
Two are literally living pseudo-royal visit. They don't even have a charity. This is all private money-making tour.
And the Federal Police? They kept things vague. Comment on protection arrangements. But maybe the signal of all, an Australian politician has stepped to defend the visit. That's silence. It says a lot more than words. Look, 14 a country of 26 million isn't exactly a nationwide uprising. But it's definitely not nothing. Even the people behind the petition would admit it's not some massive takeover. But let's be real for a second. It's loud enough the Australian MP now has to they did it, and that alone changes the whole game.
The PR and the pomp and pageantry almost of being part of the royal family, but they don't really want any of the responsibility, do they? They turn up to a few photos taken, look like the charming, lovely people that they present themselves as, and then go home, then go back to California.
That kind of pressure doesn't just disappear, it lingers. Back in 2018, the energy was completely different. Harry and Meghan lived in Australia thinking the country was fully behind them. No doubts, no pushback, support all around. But that idea, yeah, it just crashed hard, sitting right there on a petition page. And somehow, nobody around the Six camp seems to have picked up. October 7, 2018, Dubbo, New South Wales. Harry stood out in pouring rain, no umbrella.
Can I just tell you that Australia has tackled illegal immigration very successfully. And I think given the fact that Harry and Meghan are on their way, I think it's time to reactivate Operation Soldiers, Paul.
Face to face with farmers dealing with drought. It wasn't some closed-off event either. It was open to the public, and thousands showed up. On camera, he said, "You must not silently suffer," and asking for help was one of the best decisions. That moment felt raw, real, and it connected with people in a big way. Then, 21, an armchair expert, he dropped another line that privilege you blinders. His words, not anyone else's. Now jump to April 50, 26. Country, same focus on mental health. But everything about the setup feels completely different now. The spotlight is locked on Melbourne Park, hosting the Inner Edge psychosocial safety.
Well, he loves it. Keeps him going. He's so sad and miserable in his own life because he's a Meghan's spend bag that when he, is off, as you see, he loves criticising everybody for himself.
The event is backing Lifeline, a well-known and respected prevention charity. And to be clear, none of this criticism is aimed at the charity itself. That part matters. The rich people can't. The price war. Eyes are locked on those tickets hitting $2,378 Australian dollars at 1,978. That's not small change. That's a serious barrier for most people. For something centered around mental health, that's alone already raising eyebrows. Things sharp turn on April 6th, 9 days before the event, and that's when the situation really started to shift. Organisers slipped in 2 new ticket options on the booking.
Can't imagine why nobody's. Can you? It
Yeah,
sounds so interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds so interesting. From a man who can't keep an employee to life, so it works mental health.
A delegate pass for 997 Australian dollars, virtual pass for 498. No announcement, spotlight. Added like would notice. People noticed, and here's what's really raising eyebrows. That delegates is more than 50% cheaper than the gold tier. That gap, it's not small, and it's going unnoticed.
They think somehow that Australians are a little naive, a little easy to skin as far as I think she thinks we're, hicks down under that won't see and be just so honoured us with spreads.
It's got people talking, and not in a quiet way. UK back at all. They put the situation right into the spotlight and called it out. Meanwhile, no response to organisers, nothing from Harry's team, and no official ticket anywhere.
This money-spinning tawdry event will be for 300 women. And we estimate that Meghan will probably make £100,000 from that weekend. Okay, that's good money for a...
That silence, it's only making people look closer and question more. Sky News Australia reported that Harry is sitting around $50,000 Australian dollars, and that lines up with what Radar Online said he earned earlier this year at the IPP Global Privacy Summit in Washington. Then another layer to even more. According to Paula Froelich from Inside, organisers brought Harry a for Deepak Chopra.
Morning yoga classes, sound healing, a manifestation session. What's going on, Samara?
Meghan is trading trash for cash at this point. I mean, seriously.
After Chopra's name showed up in Epstein-related files back in February, her exact words, she called it more of a Hail Mary. That phrasing alone has people raising us fast and hasn't. And here's where the contrast really hits. Same man who once stood in Abo telling farmers asking for help was one of the best decisions is now delivering that same message.
If you're an online psychotic sycophant, you're more than welcome to come. But if you're a professional woman that happens to in a media career, we'll take your money, then we'll kick you out. It's honestly a disaster.
Stage where even the lowest is pushing close to $1,000 Australian dollars. That shift, people are definitely noticing it. This is not a shot at Lifeline at all. They're respected for a reason, no doubt about that. But it still raises a real people can't stop. When did open, rain-soaked moment turn into a VIP-style setup? And who actually made that call?
Gwyneth's Besties event, which was in 2023. It's basically it's a blackout. Now, the difference, the contrast with Meghan is the fact that there is nothing. I am shocked. There's no build-up. There's no one willing to break their one of note to say that they're actually...
Back in Dubbo, farmers didn't need tickets, didn't need passes. They just showed up and listened. Now this is where things start to put the whole story on its... Before further, lock in one date. October 3rd, 2025. That date matters way more than it looks, and it's everything. Now, shift over retreat, called Her Best Life. Scheduled April 17th to 19th. Behind it all is one name, Gemma O'Neill.
The ridiculousness of the petition. It was a stupid assertion in their response back that Australians had dared to say, hang on a minute, we don't want our money being spent on these two. They were very, very rude with the reaction. Any other normal person would have been like, okay, look, I do understand there are concerns, but we will be paying our own way. No, they came out with quite a combative. That was very, very rude to the Australians. Patronising, I would say.
And just to clear things up right now, this is not from radio, completely different person. Jackie Henderson already stepped away from the Her Life podcast back on February 3rd, so she's not involved in this at all. O'Neill is running the retreat solo through her company, Besties Australia, and now the timeline is telling its own story because this really matters here. So stay locked in. October 3rd, 2025. That key date again.
They've hit back furiously, saying, no. OK, they've signed this, but 25 million Australians haven't. So therefore, when they get to Australia, those two, they are...
O'Neill buys a 3-bedroom cottage in Fitz, New South Wales, dropping 1.025 million Australians on it. And it's by property records and by Daily Mail Australia and GB News. Then, just 7 weeks later, November 25th, 2025, everything takes a sharp turn. O'Neill's set company, the agency PT Lentide, into voluntary liquid.
There's no build, and it's almost like they want to be associated with her, with Markle, but it's really bad.
That's straight from AIC. Public records, documents, no rumors, no guessing. Now line those dates up side by side. Yeah, it starts raising some serious questions fast, enough to, and not quietly either. Then comes February 20th, 2026, and this is where the pressure really shows. Administrators, she can't contribute toward repayments. Her reasons are all officially on record. No personal savings, income.
Questions asked about the appropriateness of this visit to Australia now. There's a cost of living crisis, and yet there you go, Meghan is swanning around like a Z-list celebrities, you say, and making money for selfies at this Sydney retreat, paying thousands of dollars. And so they realise that they have no other role in life. There's nothing else that they can really do. They got ape the monarchy, but they was...
And even a failed attempt to refinance her apartment. That's documented reality, and it's adding even more weight. And just 4 days later, the 24th, 2026, Grant Thornton Australia is the official creditors report, and the numbers hit hard. Total debt lands at $546,848 Australian dollars, and almost all of that, $543,548, is owed to the Australian Taxation Office. That's a massive chunk, no way to downplay it. Things get even more intense. The administrators flagged in payment to key client.
These two cretins, literally a family of institutional racism, as Prince Philip lay on his deathbed as the late Queen Elizabeth II was battling cancer. Prince William, you want to bring them back to us at a time, by the way, when their charity ventures, when they're failed, when dumped.
And in their own words, it wasn't by a documented loan agreement. No clear commercial reasoning, no proven by the company. That's not some detailed paperwork. That's a serious red flag waving loud. And there's more. They pointed out that this may not have just happened overnight. It could have been for a while, with signs the agency may have already been insolvent as far back as December 2024.
From what exactly? They think there's going to be so many people there, they'd not railings, they'd need crowd control? Absolutely not. The few that might turn up to see Harry and Meghan, I don't think are really going to have nice things to say about them, but that's to be. Boo here and there. Policing them from people booing? Good luck with that.
Exactly, and this is
that kind of timeline. It raises even bigger questions behind the scenes. Then, fast forward, 2 weeks later, March 11th, 2026. O'Neill announces Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, as the headline speaker for a retreat with 2,699 Australian dollars. But that number alone is enough to get people talking. Now this is to stay clear and fair. Bestilia and GMI agency, separate legal entities on paper.
I mean, all this guy needed to say was, this trip is not to be used using Australian taxpayer end. He didn't have to say anything else other than 5,027 million people. He didn't have to say that. Charlie.
So any claim that's directly covering GMI, that's a question, not an accusation. The question that's being asked. As one News Nation source, the question writes it, who is actually financing this event? And where is that money going? That's the part people keep circling back to. So far, O'Neill hasn't given any public answers. At the same time, she deleted her personal Instagram. That move alone added more curiosity. People even closer, watching all of this unfold, like Margaret in Melbourne, are asking something simple but sharp. What kind of background checks were done before Meghan agreed to this? So what does 2,699 Australian dollars really get you here? On paper, it sounds like a full-on experience. 2 nights to Continental Beach, Saturday lunch, plus yoga and sound healing meditation sessions by Gemma O'Neill. And then there's a conversation with Meghan during it all sounds almost but then you hit in print, and this is where people still take. That step package, it includes that you're expecting a stranger. Yeah, that detail is getting people off guard. If you're going solo in 2,699 Australian dollars, would expect at least their own space. But not here. The only way to lock in a private room is up to the VP at 3,199 Australian dollars. And that jump in price, it's definitely get talking. That upgrade get an ocean view, a gag and a photo with Meghan. But that, it's turning heads fetting. Then the situation to twist. 7 News report peak actually paid the full 2,699 Australian dollars herself. No discounts, no special treatment. She went in like any regular customer, asked a simple question. Could she have her own room? She also requested invoice, and that thing shifted. Organizers realized worked in media, and just like that, and was revoked. The reason, no media permitted. But there was no clear rule during checkout saying media professionals could attend. Ariana didn't stay about it either. She documented everything step by step, and that only put the situation further in light. Emails were included 7 News Spotlight on April 9th, and that report put even more a situation that was already heating up. What was building quietly suddenly got a much bigger spotlight. At the same time, the whole sold-out story started to shift. Back in mid-March, it was being promoted as fully booked, no spots left. Then 9, Honey reported website wording to allocation, now exhausted. Sounds but not exactly the same. And then, this week, another switch. The wording suddenly changed again. A handful of additional rooms just released. People online caught that instantly. No at all. One Reddit user even said, this is practically begging people to sign up. That says a lot about being, but that's not all. Others noticed something else. Retreat dates had been unavailable on the Intercontinental's own system for weeks, and that detail, it suggests the room block not have actually sold out the way it was being presented. Put it all together and, yeah, it's raising a lot of eyebrows, and not quietly either. People are looking at the full picture, and the reaction is getting by the day. Think about what this actually means for a second. You're paying around 2,600 Australian dollars, flying into Sydney, checking in, and then suddenly a stranger walks into your room like, hey, we're roommates. That's the setup. And if you happen to have a press card sitting in your bag, you don't even make it that far. You're turned right at the door. That's where people are aligned, because this isn't being seen as imp anymore. Real empowerment doesn't come with forced room sharing or unclears like that. Started as a meet and greet, with organ to control exactly who gets in the room and who doesn't. Now that on top of everything else already, petition gaining traction, the confusion around ticket pricing, the Grant Thornton report, and the situation with all of that already in motion, 6 finally broke their silence on March. The statement showed up in the Daily Mail, and then everywhere fast. Are the exact words from the spokesperson. It's a moot point, is being privately, so I'm not sure what petition hopes to achieve. But then it goes further. This part really stands out because of how it's framed. They added, if you want to dive into the ridiculous petition agenda for spreading misinformation, then one could hypothesize that there are approximately 26.5 million, 99.98% of them who haven't signed it. And it keeps going. Who must agree with the taxpayer picking up for their visit. And of course, that is another equal assertion to make. Those are the words, exactly as stated. Read that carefully because it's not as straightforward as it first sounds, and the way it's being interpreted, that's when start to get even more intense. At first glance, the person's out that 99.98% of Australians sign a petition, but then immediately calls that same logic equally stupid. That's not a serious claim of support. It's sarcasm written into an official response. And that tone, it didn't land well with everyone. Instead of calming things down, it came across like a default people who actually took the time to sign the petition. And once a message like that is and say, and dicks it say, sticks and spreads fast. Beyond a wait around either. They fed back the very next morning with one sharp silence does not equal consent. Short, direct, quickly. Then more voices started jumping. Royal biographer Tom the Daily Telegraph Sydney saying, Meghan is doing it for money. It's rather shabby. She's monetizing her royalty, which I think is pretty shabby. Because the Queen, she wouldn't do that. Strong words. And they'd go unnoticed. PR analyst Oz also weighed in, speaking to the Mirror, and that only added more fuel to an already growing reaction. Her take hit from a completely different angle, at a time when criticism around ability and attaching her name to a high-ticket event felt completely tone-deaf. That point lined up what a lot of people were already thinking, and the conversation louder. But here's the part that really shifted everything, that should have raised alarms in team. On its own, that petition probably would have slowed down around 5,000 signatures. That's usually when momentum still off, but it did stop there. It needed a spark, and that spark came from the point statement. The second that response dropped, it added fuel. Signatures started going again, adding roughly 5,000 names immediately. Doesn't happen by accident. Instead of shutting the story down, it pushed it into the spotlight. At that point, this wasn't just a reaction anymore. It was turning into something much bigger. It started to the whole nation was being amplified. Meghan quiet the conversation. It got louder, faster, and way harder to ignore. The more they responded, the bigger it seemed. And then one more detail slipped out, this time from leaked operational planning notes. The document was reportedly shared with selected media April 9th, Maguire's chief communications officer. And one line stood out immediately. There will be no walkouts in Australia, not in Sydney, not in Melbourne, not in... The reason given security costs tied to managing public crowds. Decision alone of attention. Now compare that 2018. Back then, the Queen-funded tour, the Sussexes carried out 74 countries in just 15 days. It was non-stop movement, non-stop ability. Places like the Opera House, Bondi Beach, Dubbo, Melbourne. Event, all open, all packed, with thousands showing up every single time. The energy, it was undeniable. Even that moment people still remember. A 5-year-old boy, Luke Vincent, hugging Harry on camera. That image, many, in part of Australia's lasting memory of that tour. Now, jumped and the ignore. This time, it's being described as a proudly funded trip, feeling different. The itinerary outlined by Meg's nothing like before. It includes a children's visit, one Invictus Australia event on Sydney Harbour, a women's homelessness shelter, an AFL club stop in Melbourne, a rugby match in Sydney, and a short video without Meghan. It's controlled and far more limited. But here's what stands out the most. The retreat isn't even, according to Maguire's own planning notes, the team meet as a completely commercial event and left it for the itinerary entirely alone, has people asking serious questions, but draws a clear line between the official visit and everything that's happening around it. And right at the center of all this, one question keeps coming up from Tom Bauer, Beyond Australia, 7 News, and people in Melbourne. Everyone's in their own way. Who is actually paying for what? Exactly. Because this is where things starts. The petition focuses on one angle. Who's covering the security raises another. Who's funding the lifestyle around it? The Sussex camp, the answer is simple. Private funding. People looking at timelines, pricing shifts and official documents, that answer doesn't seem to tell the full story. In 2018, Harry and Meghan landed in Sydney. She ran to them. The spectacle was huge. The energy was everywhere. But now, in 2026, into something completely different. A petition that says, "We don't want you here." That speaks volumes. Retreat being run by someone who's separate over $500,000 to the tax office. A keynote event that suddenly ticket prices by more than 50% just 9 days but kicked off, happening at the same time. That overlaps exactly why people are questioning everything. And an audience being told, through Harry's own operational plan, that they're not even allowed to show up and wave. That alone changes the thing around it. Doesn't feel tour anymore. Looks a lot paper controlled and managed. Now to be clear, none of us were in that room on March 26th when the spokesman wrote the moot point response. Everyone is working the same information. ASIC records, change.org numbers, even news reporting, Tom Bauer's on-the-record comments and the Grant Thornton creditors report. It's all out there. The real question isn't just what people get information. Archewell does next because that's what will actually shape where the story goes from here. If this whole situation has people's attention now, there's even more sitting under the surface, details buried inside that report that haven't fully played out yet. And that February 24th it didn't just list numbers. It hinted at deeper issues people are at now. In the details are questions about decision-making, timing, and how everything lined up tightly across different because step-by timeline, it doesn't feel random. You've got fire building, going into then circuit events and major names getting announced right after. That sequence, it's what people bad making them twice. And here's the thing, none of this is in isolation anymore. The petition, the pricing shifts set up, the official itinerary, all overlapping at the same time, creating a bigger picture that's getting harder to ignore. That's why the focus it's actually getting sharper. People aren't just reacting anymore, comparing timelines, asking questions, and the more those questions build, the more pressure it puts on it to finally make sense. And that's when start to shift, because once people begin connecting the dots like this, the conversation doesn't slow down, it speeds up. What started as set headlines, petition a ticket price there, a financial somewhere else, is now being seen as one connected story, and that changes how people react to it. It's no longer just about one decision, it's about the coming together. You've got growing public back, unanswered questions around funding, and events that feel more exclusive than inclusive. That attention locked in, and that's standing out. Everything hitting within the same window makes it harder for anyone to coincidence. At this point, it's not just about what happened, it's about next. Because every response, even silence, is being watched closely. And right now, the spotlight isn't going anywhere. If anything, it's getting even brighter. The Grant Thornton report is one detail that's been fully unpacked. It stands out for a reason. Figure commission payment with no documentation and no clear posted. That's not something people just overlook. Now bring that next to what Tom Bauer outlined in Betrayal, where similar patterns showed up in a completely different context. Put those side by side. Suddenly the picture looks a lot more complicated and a lot harder to ignore. The kind of detail that keeps deeper. This stopping up anytime soon, and there's still more to uncover. So if you want more deep dives like this, like, subscribe, share this with someone who needs to see it, and drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story is far from over.